Super Smash Bros. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear that? To many, Smash Bros. Is a game from their childhood, where familiar faces such as Mario, Yoshi, and Pikachu all battle it out in a wonky, chaotic, free-for-all fighting game. It's a celebration of Nintendo's history, whether new or recent, cartoony or serious. It caters to age groups, young and old, and marks itself as a traditional must-own title for any Nintendo platform. But like any brand, this is only one perspective of its impact. Smash Bros. Is fairly multiplex in who it caters to and why it does so. Takes on a different meaning to different people, and yet, still triumphs. But I think between the audience of children, the casual gamers, the college apartment, and diehard Nintendo fans, no other audience can quite compare to the competitive Smash Bros. Community. This community is arguably the most passionate, most stubborn, and most dedicated group of gamers you can find. You must have heard of them. The cries of Wombo Combo! And even the Qualcomm Punch! But what exactly defines the competitive community? And what's so different about it and a regular audience? Although others play the game, these people are the literal meaning of hardcore. They analyze the game from every nook and cranny, exploit, glitch, move, and situation in a challenge against who has the most skill controlling their character and outplaying their opponent. But how on earth did a Nintendo platforming fighter create such a diverged community? It all started quite innocently, from a website started by a 13-year-old. In 1999, little Ricky Tilton created the website called Smash World, which is known today as Smashboards. This website was made to celebrate Ricky's favorite game, Super Smash Bros., and eventually evolved and prospered in tandem with the release of the Smash GameCube game, Super Smash Bros. Melee. Arguably, this hub became one of the top facilitators for the early Smash scene, and helped hardcore players find a bearing. Players use this forum as a gateway to finding other players, sharing new techniques, and talking about the game they love. But what separated this from a simple instant messaging and online discussion was the oncoming of competitive play and tournaments. With what started with Melee in 2002, players eventually connected with one another within the same region to meet up for Smash Fests, and eventually prize pool tournaments. It's amazing to see that what started as a fun get-together with people of similar interests could evolve into such a phenomenon. This was a result of the game Melee and its core gameplay mechanics. It wasn't like traditional fighters from the 90s, where inputs and combos were available for players to learn. These combos were unintended, overlooked, and the result of creativity and skill of the player. Even the creator of the game, Masahiro Sakurai, has gone on to say he made Smash Bros. As a result of these A-type fighters and wanted something new and applicable to everyone. And his design choice of this game eventually was grasped and adopted by the players. Actually, this kind of reminds me of studies of literary works. Amongst readers and scholars alike, there can be heated and heavy debate over a particular meaning of a novel that can be contested throughout the course of a work's life. It doesn't matter what the author's intentional reading was, the work can be a standalone entity, being interpreted different as a cultural valence and the reader bias changes with time, culture, and circumstance. The players made the game the way it is through their own interpretation of the core product, making for a totally new and unintended culture. And this very point is where Smash Bros. Sets itself out from traditional fighters and competitive games. Where you have games like League of Legends, Dota, Gears of War, and Halo, all being designed to be heavily competitive and are generally supported to be this way, Smash Bros., up until recently, was not. So wait a minute, in the early days, how did they get these big venues? How do the players travel so far, and where on earth do they get all these TVs? It was only through the efforts of the players. For them, the facts of not being taken seriously, having no support, and being completely uncanny for a fighting game didn't matter, because they wanted to do the thing they loved, and that thing they loved grew. When Nintendo gave them an inch, they took it a mile. Miles. Across states, across countries, from Japan, Sweden, and the UK, all across the world. Through the humble beginnings of misfit gamers, sprouted the behemoth of the Smash community we celebrate today. But before we talk about that, let's look at one of the biggest community splits the game series has seen. In 2008, Super Smash Bros. Brawl was launched, and boy, did it have big shoes to fill. Many were anxious about the coming sequel, as they would finally be able to move on from Melee onto this new game with more characters, stages, and better graphics, if you consider the Wii to have good graphics. What they were in for, indeed, was the Brawl to end them all. Brawl was a success across the market, topping the sales of Melee and getting numerous positive reviews. But another story was brewing on the competitive side of things. See, the games Melee and Brawl are the same in formula, but very different in execution. Melee was fast, fluid, and combo-oriented, where Brawl was slower paced, calculated, and defense-oriented. This is not to say Brawl was not a successful competitive game, but it presented a new style of play that disappointed fans of the predecessor and steered off the players of Melee. Where once it was uniform for the most part, now players were split between communities. You wouldn't find Brawl at Melee tournaments or vice versa, and for a while, hatred and flame wars raged on the forums and other internet platforms. It was either one or the other, no in between. Although Melee was still played, during Brawl's early years, it took a backseat, as Brawl was featured at big name tournaments and it was not. This divergence kinda weakened the Smash Bros. Community as a whole, and for years, activity was far less and spectatorship was dwindling in numbers. So, in this dark time, what saved Smash? Firstly, and I think it's something that's usually overlooked, it had to do with the technology and mediums present at the time. YouTube was made in 2005, but it only just surfaced during the later portion of Melee's lifespan. Before then, there was sharing of video on forums and other mediums, but as we all know, YouTube was the flagship that set that culture in motion. And even once we had YouTube, recording equipment wasn't available for users to explore and use with gaming until 2006 and 2007. Now, this video sharing platform heavily favored the Smash community in these times, as it opened up a new opportunity. Before this, if you wanted to know about or see a match, you had to go there or hear gossip on the forums. This was a very revolutionary thing for Smash because it helped people connect more. It helped people see who the pros were and how they played. Of course, the sharing of tournaments on an internet platform was ultimately trumped with the coming of streaming. In 2011, a video game streaming application named Twitch hit the web. This website showed opportunity for competitive fighters, and Smash Bros. Was no exception. It allowed spectators from all over the world take part in what was happening in tournaments right at home. Although now it seems standard, it opened up a realm where people could feel like they belonged, where you could tweet out, "Hey, did you see Armada's umbrella combo?" and have others understand what you mean. But streaming practices alone were not the only thing that helped bring the community where it was. For a while, practices in these games and tournaments were still amateur, and players of the same game were fragmented. Something needed to be done, and leaders needed to step up. Enter Melee Army, a band of veteran community leaders with the sole purpose of bringing the community back together in these hard times. They wanted to inform and educate players on what the community is lacking and tried to bring Smashers together in a collaborative fashion. The movement was essential for what was coming up, a culmination of the efforts of grassroots communities to become something greater. EVO 2013. EVO is a popular fighting game tournament, basically the Olympics for them. But in 2013, the tournament organizer, Mr. Wizard, decided to do something different. Before the tournament, he posted a donation poll. This poll was for people to donate money and vote on which game they wanted to be featured in the lineup of games already at EVO. You can only guess where this goes. This is where Smashers of all kind, whether Melee, Brawl, Casual or Pro, cooperated as one to fight for a common goal. And if they succeeded, it would determine the path the competitive community would head on for years to come.
People are still wondering if we're done. No, we're not.
We hit 60? We were just at 58. Wait, we're at 65?
No,
it's 66.
Please.
15 minutes until everything's over.
It's like last stock right here.
We're almost at 70k. They're at 67.5.
Yo, this is insane, man.
We're at $77,000. Did we just jump 10?
We're at 84.2?
No, we're not. Oh my god!
We have raised $90,000 for breast cancer.
Yo!
I finally got hit with
90?
an
Wow!
We're
Heart
at
attack.
90. They're at 76. That is a sizable, comfortable lead.
In the last hour of donations, the Smash community managed to pull ahead of all competition and take the spot at EVO 2013.
And there it is, the up smash, and Wobbles is gonna go down 3-1 Mango.
It's crazy to think. A game from 2001, living so long, being studied so deep, and still fresh and exciting at every tournament. In fact, the Melee scene attracted enough attention to warrant a documentary. Called The Smash Brothers, it documented the story from the start, revived old tales and legends from long-lost pasts that were almost completely forgotten. This documentary welcomed new players, made them feel like they belonged, and slowly but surely, numbers grew. Streams happen constantly throughout all days of the week. Tournaments are happening on what seems like every month, and players can watch them and become a part of it all. And I'd only be lying if I said it stopped there. Other reaches of this community amount to incomprehensible amounts of passion and dedication that few other niche communities can replicate. What started with fans of Melee wanting to rectify the problems in Brawl turned into the mod called Project M. It aimed to make a game that was both open to players of Melee and Brawl. Although it's a fan-made mod, it's seen outrageous success over the 4 years of it being played, and even is hosted at official tournaments. And how could I forget? Another entry to the series, Smash Brothers for both 3DS and Wii U. Now, if you think anything designed in Smash 4 was put in by accident, you seriously doubt the dent our stubborn community has made. From design choices within the game, the inclusion of a GameCube controller adapter, and Nintendo hosting an invitational tournament at this year's E3 trade show, it's clear that the competitive community have indeed affected the decisions and mindset of Nintendo. Smash Brothers is something a lot of communities should look at and take notes on. From its humble beginnings to the social media image it has now, made a game that was never intended to be played the way it is into a fantastic culture. And sure, there are problems today looming around and causing anguish within the communities, but you can't exclude the efforts of how far we've come and why we're here today. It's kind of funny. The community that surrounds Smash Bros are, in essence, the same as the gaming universe itself. A world of characters from different pasts and conflicts, all knowing different things, all fighting in a different fashion, all with different preferences. And yeah, we might fight as much as they do, but at the end of the day, we're all kind of like a family. And no matter what future Smash Brothers has, I'm glad I could be a part of it. Hey guys, it's Alex. I'm not gone yet, but I wanted to throw a few links at you that you should probably check out if you like this video. First of all, thank you to the numerous dedicated Smash Bros channels for the footage I used in this video. Now, I totally stole it from them, so if you want to go check out even more, I recommend going down and subscribing to them. Next, I recommend you go check out the Smash documentary, The Smash Brothers. It's a really interesting story if you have the time and you want to learn about the history of the scene. I only tackled a fraction of it, so I hope you go check it out. And finally, and maybe most important, head on over to Smashboards and become part of the community yourself. I know, I was once you too, who just hovered on YouTube videos and only understood a bit of this whole thing, but Smashboards is open to everyone and anyone who loves Smash. And now with Smash 4 out, there's a bunch more to explore, so head on over if you want to learn more and just become a part of all of this. Anyways, that's it for me. Thanks for watching you guys, and I will see you on the flip side.